So of course, the first person I'm gonna pick from Marvel is gonna be Venom. Thing about this is, I'm actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm torn between this Venom and Agent Venom, because primarily I'm not even really into the comics right now, but I know for a good while primarily it was Agent Venom that held the spotlight for like the actual Venom character. And it makes me think like his playstyle in a new Marvel game, if it was Agent Venom, then he may play a bit like Chris or somebody, just because of the gun usage, which kind of takes it out of like why they would add Punisher into the game. I would actually rather see an Agent Venom over a Punisher in the game, just because he would have the weapons and like the arsenal plus the symbiote. It would be pretty cool to see. B.B Hood coming from Darkstalkers, she's personally who I would want to see, even over Jedah. Even though Jedah would be pretty cool to see if they had to switch around the list of Darkstalkers to add to the game. Marvel 3 with Morrigan, Felicia, and Asenko. I would love to see Morrigan, B.B Hood, and Jedah, but definitely B.B Hood over Jedah. I'm not sure how much exposure he has in the comics right now, but I feel like with Marvel really focusing on the MCU, and as you can obviously tell, I feel this will be a perfect chance to bring War Machine back into Marvel vs. Capcom. It's just going back over, like, say his move list from the previous Marvel vs. Capcom game he was in. It's not that he played like Iron Man, because that's just not true. It's that he's just like, visually, he just seemed too much like Iron Man. He has enough weaponry and skills to be able to just like be a different character. I don't want him back looking just like Iron Man, like another Iron Man clone. Like I don't want him being Marvel's Shoto. That's what it seems. I don't want it to be like that. That seems like what all of Iron Man's like armored villains would end up being, like his very own Shoto clones. And War Machine, he's a different character. I just want to see him come back. He's like one of my favorite Marvel heroes. But on the Capcom side is Leo from what's it called, the Red Earth series, or Warzard, whatever region you prefer to call it by. But honestly, Warzard, there we go. Red Earth is pretty much, it will fit great. Any of the 4 characters would fit great into a Marvel vs. Capcom game. Leo is just like the forefront character. I would love to see, because I don't want to like use all 4, because that's 4 slots. One could go to another character. I would love to see Leo, Tessa, and Mei Ling. One, just because the ninja character, he just looks kind of boring, and just to add more females to the cast. But all 3 of them would be great. They even make use of the super jump mechanic in their own fighting game. And if you never got to play the game, I suggest like you go out, find the ROMs. I know I said that I would give them out, but I don't have them anymore, and I really just don't feel like looking for them anymore. Like, it's such a hassle, and no one even plays it in the Fightcade lobbies. But those 3 characters would just be perfect in Marvel vs. Capcom. And it just, especially without assists, like you play them solo anyways, they just seem like great characters to use. They would fit right into it. And Tessa has already been in a versus game. She was in Capcom versus SNK, the first one. I don't know about the second, I doubt it, but yeah. So I feel Black Panther will be a great addition, just because if it's true what they're saying, that there aren't going to be any more X-Men characters in the game, I feel Black Panther will make a great replacement for Wolverine. Just because of his fighting style compared to Wolverine's, I feel he would make a pretty good replacement, and even he would have more weapons and possibly a projectile, which would seem pretty cool, honestly, to me. Now on the Capcom side, of course there are going to be some Street Fighter characters, and with Ryu like already going to be in the game, of course he's going to be, and that just means Chun-Li's going to be in the game too. I'm really not excited for that. If they would replace Chun-Li with someone else, that would honestly just make it better for me, good. I feel Chun-Li she's a boring character in my eyes. But I'm stuck between Alex and Juri. Just because Juri, when she was first introduced in Street Fighter 4, she just seemed like a good character used in a versus game. Now, of course, Alex, he was in a versus game as well, along with Tessa. He was in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, and I want to say he played pretty well. He was still a grappler, still had all his other moves from Third Strike, and he just seemed fun. So I'm not a fan of his design in 5, but between those two, I would want those like in a versus game. They just seem like fan favorites, at least my favorites. I can see both of them not coming back. I can see both of them in a versus game. And if I had to pick any Street Fighter characters, it would be between those two, just because the rest of the Street Fighter characters, oh, and of course, you know, Akuma's going to be in there, so it would at least have to be Ryu, Akuma, and I know Viper was in 3, so Ryu, Akuma, and one of those two, not Chun-Li. Now here's where the list gets a little different. On the Marvel side is Medusa. She's an Inhuman, and with Marvel taking an interest and kind of focusing on Inhumans on their show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they're getting a movie somewhere down the line, I would love to see Medusa. If you don't know, she basically has power to like control the length and maybe I think density of her hair, which seems like, why would that be in a fighting game? If you play Guilty Gear, Milia has the same exact thing. And coming from someone who hates fighting against Milia, it's a fun idea and it works. It actually works, and I would love to see Medusa. She has a really cool design too, so I would love to see that in a Marvel versus game. Now on the Capcom side, it's interesting because as much as I would actually like to see Virgil come back, just reworked, and I'm gonna get to reworked characters later on in the list. As much as I would love to see Virgil come back, I honestly would take more of an interest in their faller Sparda, and that's not gonna be it for the DMC series. But if I would love to see Sparda, just because he's mentioned in the Devil May Cry games, but you never really see enough of him. And of course, versus series games not being canon is just something fun to do. Why not bring him back? He has, I think, 3 swords. He gave 2 of them to Dante and Virgil, and Trish has his 3rd. If Trish doesn't make a comeback, I would love to see Sparda come back with that sword. Marvel side, there's the Serpent. He's a Thor villain. I don't know a whole lot about him really, but he looks cool, and I feel like Thor just needs more like villains, even like allies. I know some people will probably go with Beta Ray Bill, but Beta Ray Bill is just boring as hell to me. He just looks boring, and like I feel he would have basically the same moves as Thor, but the Serpent, he looks just powerful, and I feel Thor needs more exposure with his his rogues gallery basically. And again, from Devil May Cry, it's gonna be Nero. I don't want him being like Dante where he has a ton of moves at his disposal. I really think that should be a unique Dante thing. I would love to see him pretty much as Virgil, to where he has a select group of moves that he has in battle. And he seems like a cool character to add to the series in the replacement of Virgil. On the Marvel side, there's Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier's appearance and just seeing like how he fights from comics and in the movies, he actually kind of reminds me of Kano from Mortal Kombat. I can see that working. Like, it's not even, he's not basic at all. I can see them using the metal arm for something. If they bring back Spencer, of course, you know, they're probably gonna have some dialogue with that. But Asura from Ashura's Wrath on the Capcom side, he is definitely a character I want to see, and I know a lot of people want to see him back just because of how powerful he looks and just is. I would love to see him in a versus game. As for reworked characters, of course, you know my number 1 pick is gonna be Ghost Rider. my favorite character to play in Marvel 3, and this section is pretty much characters I want to return from Marvel 3. But Ghost Rider is definitely going to be my #1 pick. If they gave him more hit stun, gave him, I don't know, a ground bounce or something, it could possibly work. But from the trailer you see, the Power Stone's going to give you, unless it's like character driven, it gives different characters different effects. He's going to give you multiple wall bounces, which is definitely something Ghost Rider could use. But Zero, even though he was a menace to deal with, I feel if they reworked his character, especially with Mega Man X, and they gave him this design possibly, and, you know, gave him his classic as an alternate, he would be a really good pick. I mean, it's not that he's like a bad character, it's just they just didn't really, they just made him way too strong. He was, in my opinion, the best character in the game. Virgil, him and Virgil, they needed Meter to survive basically, but Zero was just a menace all around, and if they just worked on that, he would be a cool character to use. I'd probably pick him up, but I mean, I just, no. I want him to return, but just not as powerful. Now, some people are going to hate me for this, but it's my list. I want the Jane Foster Thor to appear in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Why do you ask that? Because Thor's main problem, in my opinion, Marvel 3, was that he was just way too slow. And it kind of made sense because his damage output was actually really good. He just didn't have a lot of combo ability with assists, in my opinion. Maybe it's just because I picked him up late, but from my experience with Thor, he just didn't work well with like most assists. Of course, he was good in the neutral, but overall, it was just kind of hard to get in with him just because he was so slow. And with Jane Foster as Thor, I feel like she could be a faster version of Thor. Of course, they'd have to tone down her damage if they're going to speed him up. But it was crazy because even Hulk felt faster because, you know, he would have moves that moved him forward and he would just have a presence about him. Like, you would just be scared to fight him. Now, Capcom, I do want to see Amaterasu come back, just because I feel like she was a good character. She just wasn't like as good as everyone else. She had good tools, but I think it's her low damage output that really just put her at the bottom of most people's list. I mean, she was never bottom tier, she was always like mid, but her tools were great. It was her damage output that really just kind of held her back from being a good character. She was short, which made her a nuisance to deal with, especially with Ghost Rider, but I feel like she needs a second chance. But that's going to be it for my list. You guys tell me who you think should be in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Who do you guys... What's interesting is everyone has thoughts about new characters who should be in. I want to know who you think should return and how it should be tweaked, if any way. So make sure to hit that like, comment, subscribe, and just let me know what you guys think about Infinite.